The most famous breakfast argument in America has a scientific answer. But there is a catch. Ask whether the chicken or the egg came first, and biology points one way. Change the definition of chicken egg, however, and suddenly, the answer can flip. That is why this ancient riddle survives even in an age of genetics. The real story begins long before farms, frying pans, or chickens existed at all. And once evolution enters the picture, the question becomes much stranger than it sounds. Start with something easy to miss. Chickens did not invent eggs. Animals were laying eggs hundreds of millions of years before the first chicken appeared. Fish laid eggs. Amphibians laid eggs. Reptiles laid eggs. Dinosaurs laid eggs. Long before anyone could order scrambled eggs at an American diner, Earth was already producing them in enormous numbers. So if the question is simply, which existed first, eggs or chickens? The answer is straightforward. Eggs win by an absurd margin. But that feels almost too easy. The riddle usually means something more specific. What came first? The first chicken or the first chicken egg? Now we need evolution. Modern chickens did not suddenly appear from nowhere. Their ancestors belonged to populations of wild birds that changed gradually across generations. Domestic chickens are closely related to red junglefowl from Asia, with genetic contributions from other junglefowl populations during their history. That means there was never a morning when an obviously non-chicken bird looked at its obviously chicken offspring and thought, well, this is new. Evolution does not work like a software update. There is no clean progress bar labeled 99% chicken. Small genetic differences accumulate across many generations. Natural selection, genetic drift, reproduction, and later human breeding gradually reshape populations. At some point, depending on how scientists define the species boundary, descendants become different enough that we give them another name. And that creates the key twist. Imagine a bird extremely similar to a chicken, but not quite inside whatever boundary we decide defines the first true chicken. It reproduces. During the formation of sperm and egg cells, genetic variation is passed to its offspring. The embryo develops inside an egg. That offspring falls on the chicken side of our chosen boundary. What was the chicken inside before it hatched? An egg. So under the evolutionary interpretation, the egg came first. But do not picture one magical mutation instantly creating a chicken. Real speciation is usually messier. Populations change gradually, and the exact identity of the first member can be partly a human labeling problem. Nature does not carry species ID cards. We draw categories around a continuous family tree. That matters because the word egg can mean two different things. If a chicken egg means an egg containing a chicken embryo, then the first chicken developed inside a chicken egg, laid by an ancestor that was almost, but not quite, what we would call a chicken. Egg first. But if a chicken egg means an egg laid specifically by a chicken, then the first chicken had to exist before it could lay one. Chicken first. Same biology, different dictionary rule. This is why the argument can continue forever at family dinners. People may think they disagree about science when they are actually using different definitions. There is another layer. The hard-shelled reproductive system associated with birds is far older than chickens. The amniotic egg evolved in ancient vertebrates more than 300 million years ago. It allowed embryos to develop in a protected environment, away from open water, a major evolutionary advantage for life on land. Later, dinosaurs inherited versions of this reproductive strategy. Birds evolved from theropod dinosaurs. So every chicken egg sitting in a grocery store today belongs to a reproductive tradition dramatically older than the chicken itself. Your omelet has dinosaur-era ancestry. Not the kind of sentence usually printed on an egg carton. Now consider how chickens themselves entered human history. Their wild ancestors lived in Asia. Over thousands of years, humans domesticated and transported chickens across regions, selecting birds for behavior, appearance, meat, and egg production. The chicken we recognize today is therefore not just the result of natural evolution. It also carries the fingerprints of human choices. That makes the original riddle even less like a simple starting gun. There was no single universal moment when the chicken switched on. Instead, there was a branching evolutionary history, followed by domestication, mixing, and selective breeding. And this teaches us something bigger than poultry trivia. Many questions sound binary because language forces them into two boxes. Nature often refuses those boxes. Species emerge gradually. Continents move gradually. Languages change gradually. Even the boundary between one generation and the next can be perfectly clear, while the transformation of an entire population remains fuzzy. We want a first chicken because our brains love clean beginnings. Evolution gives us transitions. So what should you say the next time someone asks which came first? If they mean eggs in general, the egg came first by hundreds of millions of years. If they mean an egg containing the first organism we would classify as a chicken, the evolutionary answer is still the egg. If they define a chicken egg only as one laid by an existing chicken, then the chicken wins by definition. But scientifically, the classic version has a clear favorite. The egg came first. And the most interesting part is not that science solved an old riddle. It is that the riddle exposes how evolution really works. New species do not appear with flashing lights and an official announcement. Life changes one generation at a time. Somewhere in that unbroken chain, an egg can contain an animal that we decide to name differently from its parents. So the next time you crack an egg into a skillet, remember what you are holding, not just breakfast. A tiny reminder that life rarely has the clean beginnings our questions demand.